So Pokemon recently held their Pokemon Presents, and I wasn't able to say anything until now because I was away from home, but I've watched it, and here are my thoughts. So after going through all the stuff I didn't care about, like all that mobile garbage, we finally got to Pokemon Champions. Oh, before I get to that, I should say that there was something interesting amongst all the mobile garbage, and that was Pokemon Concierge. It's a good show. I'm glad it's getting a second season. Anyway, Pokemon Champions. We don't really know anything about this yet, so I'm not really sure what to think of it. My first thought is, what's the point of this? Because we already have, Scarlet and Violet and Pokemon Showdown, which I know is not official, but we have it, and most people know about it. So, what's the point of this? Of course, that's what I thought at first, but then I started seeing people speculate, and I hope this is true, and that is that Gen 10 is going to actually change the formula, and that this is for all the old school people and VGC and all that other stuff, so that they can finally make changes to Pokemon, finally evolve. And if that's true, I'm all for it. Like, let's go for it. If this means that, if Pokemon Champions' existence means that we can finally have Pokemon not be so stale and actually evolve, I'm all for it. Way to go, Pokemon Champions. Now, in order for me to be interested in this game, it has to have single-player content. I was hoping that this was going to be like a Pokemon Stadium kind of thing, because I've wanted that franchise to come back forever, but Game Freak doesn't seem interested in that. So, if it's only just online battling, I really do not care. Also, the fact that this is on mobile makes me very worried, because anything on mobile makes me worried, because, microtransactions and all that stuff. If there's microtransactions, I'm also not interested. But we'll have to wait and see, because right now I really don't see the point of this outside of letting Gen 10 and beyond actually change things. But we don't know. We don't know anything yet, so I'm keeping my hype levels down, and I'm going to try not to listen to too many rumors and speculation. There's actually a rumor going around that this is actually a paid game, which means there will be no microtransactions, which I do hope is the case. But again, mobile, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And then we get to the main attraction, Pokémon Legends Z-A. This is the one I've been looking forward to, because Pokémon Legends Arceus was like the only good Pokemon game we've gotten recently. So there's a lot to talk about. I don't know if I'll be even able to say everything. I've seen people go through this trailer like scene by scene and point out a bunch of different stuff. I'm not going to do that here, obviously, but I could. But anyway, let's talk about the big stuff. Okay, first off, let's get this out of the way. The graphics. They're okay. Which at this point is all I can hope for. After Scarlet and Violet, yeah, I'll take okay. Now here's the funny thing. I made an entire video about this a long time ago when Scarlet and Violet were first revealed, and every time a new Pokemon game is revealed, the fans always compare it to the last game and say the last game looked better. Funny thing is, they can't do that here. No one is doing that this time because everyone knows that Scarlet and Violet were absolute garbage. And so they started comparing it to other games, which it's fair in a way, but some of the games they're comparing it to is just plain unfair. Like, people are comparing it to Xenoblade, and I'm like, come on. They're not even, like, the same type of art style. When I compare Pokemon to other Switch games, I compare them to other cartoony games, like Mario, like Smash Brothers, like Splatoon. The games that are supposed to be cartoony and colorful, not Xenoblade. Like, that's just weird. But yeah, when compared to Mario, Splatoon, and all that stuff, these graphics just look okay. Still nowhere near as good as they could, considering the Switch. And I really hope this is not the Switch 2 we're looking at, because if this is Switch 2 graphics, that's really embarrassing. So I'm going to say that these are Switch 1 graphics to keep my sanity in tow. But, yeah, it looks fine. It's colorful, it's bright, it's nice. The Pokemon are pretty expressive in this trailer, I gotta say. I don't know if they're going to be that expressive in the actual game, because you never know with these trailers these days, But I'm okay with this. I'm okay, But the real question is, how does it run? It doesn't really matter how good a game looks if it doesn't run well. And after Scarlet and Violet, yeah, that's a big concern for me. I don't think it's going to run as bad as Scarlet and Violet. This is not open world. And can we be honest? Going open world was the stupidest thing that Pokemon ever tried to do. They were way outside their league with that. And their Scarlet and Violet game wasn't even really open world. It just caused a whole bunch of problems and didn't give us anything good in return. So you know what? I say screw open world. This is fine. Whatever they're trying to do, just having it all take place in one city, that's fine. And that's probably why I think if it does run well, that's probably going to be the reason. Because I didn't have to load an entire world, it's just sections of the city. And being that it's just a city, they can do a lot of things with the art direction, make it look consistent at least. That was the problem with a lot of the Pokemon games recently, is that they weren't really consistent with how they looked. And Scarlet and Violet's open world was just so bland and empty and just ran like garbage, it just, ugh. I swear those games have given me PTSD. I haven't played a game that broken since whatever the last Bethesda game was. Okay, so next up, those starters. Very interesting choices. We have Chikorita, Totodile, and Tepig. 2 from Gen 2, 1 from Gen 5. Definitely very interesting. And I mean this with no sarcasm. This is actually a very hard choice for me. I honestly have no idea who I'm going to go with. Because first we have Chikorita, the Pokemon who I chose for my very first playthrough of Pokemon Silver all those years ago. So I kind of want to keep up that tradition, like, hey, Chikorita, you were with me for my first ever journey through the Johto League. Now we can go through Legends Z-A together for the first time. Yay! It's tradition. But then we have Totodile, the starter who I chose the most when playing through Gen 2. Because I played Gen 2 a lot. It was my favorite generation at one point. So I picked Totodile a lot because Totodile's the GOAT. He's my favorite out of the 3. So I kind of want to pick him too. And then you have Tepig, who is also here. No, I'm just kidding. I don't hate Tepig at all. But I've never tried to use him because I never played the Black and White games. I got to really tell that story one day of why I didn't play the Black and White games. But anyway, yeah, I've never used Tepig, so I kind of want to use him, because that would be completely fresh. This is a fresh game, a lot of fresh new things, maybe doing it with a fresh Pokemon that I've never used before. I honestly don't know who I'm going to pick. There's a lot of rumors going around about new forms of these 3, the final evolution, maybe Megas. And if that's true, maybe I'll make my decision based on how good the Megas are or the other thing is. Very superficial stuff, I know, but hey, I don't know. I don't know who I'm going to pick. And what's interesting is there's a lot of rumors going around of what these new Megas or forms could be. Everyone's saying that Chikorita is going to be a grass fairy because now we saw in the trailer it has disarming voice, which it never had before. So that's very interesting. I think it's actually a pretty safe bet that it could turn into a grass fairy. And if that's true, and if the design is really good, I'm probably going to go with Chikorita. I'm not going to lie, because grass fairies is awesome. But if Totodile evolves into a water dragon, like Feraligatr kind of thing, like a mega Feraligatr water dragon, I might have to go with that, because that is also freaking awesome. And then Tepig, I don't know what they could do. Emboar is already a dual type, unlike the other 2. It's firefighting. But since everybody hated the firefighting by this point, because it was the 3rd one in a row, which, poor Tepig, poor Emboar, he didn't deserve that. I could easily see them changing it. Maybe since Emboar was based on, like Journey to the West kind of thing, they could give him armor and it could be like a fire steel. That'd be pretty cool. But also they could have the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever and make him fire dark, just like Incineroar, who was clearly going to be a firefighting, but thanks to all the backlash, they're like, nah, let's make him fire dark. So they could be funny and make him fire dark, and then everyone would get angry again because now he's just trying to be Incineroar instead of Infernape and Blaziken. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. So those are the starters. Very interesting. Like I said, I'm excited. These 3 are actually pretty interesting. Okay, so the battle system. Let's get on to that, because this is huge. You actually not only move around, but your Pokemon move around too. They can dodge attacks, and each attacks have range and all this other stuff. Like, it's like a real-time thing. I think there's another reason why people were comparing this to Xenoblade, because Xenoblade has a similar thing. So, I don't know. I've never played Xenoblade. But, yeah. So, this is very, very interesting. Now, here's the thing. This is Game Freak going outside their comfort zone pretty drastically, and which means it could either be really good or really bad. I don't know. I don't know how it feels. It could be clunky. It could be smooth. It could be great. We don't know yet, and we won't know until we get our hands on it. I hope there's like a demo or something that comes out. Has Pokemon ever had a demo? And they did. Yes, they have. But, I remember there's a demo for Sun and Moon. But anyway, yeah, this battle system is very interesting, and this also makes a huge change to the moves, because, like Protect, you can't just click it and be safe. You have to time that, which is really cool. And we saw that Stealth Rock is like a battle trap kind of thing. Like, Pokemon has to actually run into it, which is really cool. Because it's obviously, Stealth Rock can't work like it does in the mainline games. It didn't even work that way in Arceus. And that's the other funny thing. Arceus already changed a lot of properties of certain moves because of the changes to the battle system. This is even more drastic. So I'm very interested to see what all of these moves do. Some of them hit multiple Pokemon at once. It's crazy. Like, my mind is going crazy. How are status effects going to work? Like, I know how, like, Poison and Burn would work. Like, they just do battle damage over time. Not battle damage, but, secondary damage over time. But how is Sleep going to work? My guess is that it'll be like Arceus, where the Pokemon gets drowsy, and then it can still move around, but when you do a command, maybe there's a chance that it won't happen. Confusion was not a thing in Arceus, so I don't think it's going to be a thing here. But what about Frozen? I guess Frozen won't be a thing. It'll be Frostbite again. So there's that. But what about Paralysis? How is that going to work? Is it going to be like Drowsy, where there's just a chance that they don't make a move when you command them? Or is it going to slow their speed down? Are they going to be immobilized? That would be actually cool. It would be like a nice little strategy thing you could do. Like, you have this move that's very slow but very powerful. You could paralyze them first and slow them down and all that other stuff. And what about status effects? What's a speed stat going to do now? Because there's no turns. So is a speed stat going to be how fast your Pokemon moves? I can see that working. Or is it going to be how fast your moves recharge? I mean, speed is one of the most important stats in Pokemon, so it makes me wonder what they're going to do here. It's, like I said, very interesting, very interesting. I cannot wait for this game to come out, for everyone to dive into it, see how it works, and all that other stuff. There's just so many opportunities. I hope this game is good. I really hope this game is good. Okay, let's talk about the protagonist. Let's talk about some of the characters that we saw. The protagonist, they look fine. I haven't been a huge fan of the protagonists in a lot of the most recent games. They kind of just look meh to me. I know it's, customization and everything, and I hope this game has good customization, because the last couple games, customization have not been good. And this is X and Y. The games that introduced customization had really good customization. Game Freak, if you don't give us good customization, that is an insult to X and Y and the fans. So yeah, I hope there's some customization, because also I'm not a huge fan of the fit that these characters are rocking. Like, it's not terrible, but I also consider it kind of gaudy, like all these different colors and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. It's personal opinion. Fashion is always a personal opinion. But like I said, there's probably going to be customization, so it's fine. We saw a lot of shops, at least in the trailers. So hopefully there's some good, variety and stuff like that, and hairstyles and all that other stuff. And then you have your rival, who is just the opposite gender of you, just like in X and Y. So that's the thing they've carried over. But I kind of wish they would let you choose your rival. Like, I've always been a huge fan of the idea of choosing your rival, not just how they look, but their personality. I think I've said this in a previous video. Because people always argue, like, what's better, friendly rivals, jerk rivals? Why not just let us choose? Let us choose how they look, their gender, and what kind of personality they have. I think that'd be cool. Anyway, it's just wishful thinking on my part. The other characters we saw, the CEO and her bodyguard / assistant, whatever, they look fine. She might be evil, she may not, because everyone thought that the head of like the organization you work for was going to be evil, but no, there was a twist villain, so maybe they'll do the same thing here. Maybe everyone's suspecting the CEO to be evil, but it's really someone else. And you got AZ, he's still here, and he's got his floette, that's really cool. There's a lot of other Easter eggs and stuff that people have pointed out in the trailers. And let's talk about traversal. So we saw these things that teleport you up to the rooftops, which is cool. You can go on rooftops and stuff. That's kind of cool. There's these gates that have numbers on them, which is obviously how they limit you. It's like, oh, you need to go to this high rank to go through the number 1 door, and then number 2, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like Legends Arceus, where you had to get certain star ranks to go to the next area and stuff. So that's cool. That's a cool way to do it. When you battle Pokemon, you make them faint, you catch them. That's interesting. And I think I know why they did this, is because of the new battle system, when you're always running around, your Pokemon's running around, which, by the way, is your Pokemon always out and always with you? That'd be really cool. But since they're real-time battling, they're dodging attacks, doing all this stuff, it'd be kind of hard to throw a Pokeball in all of that hectic stuff, because it's not turn-based. So, yeah, letting us capture them while they faint is cool. It's nice. Relieves a little bit of that stress. And I'm sure you only have, like, a small window to do it, because it would be too easy otherwise. And what if you don't want to catch it? Maybe you just wanted to battle it. Like, are they just going to stand there dazed for hours? Yeah, I think it's just going to be a short window. So, that's cool. That's cool. We saw some Pokemon in, like, the rivers and stuff like that. How are you supposed to catch them? I mean, are we going to have, like, a surfing Pokemon? Or something? I don't know, because it's like, with this real-time battling thing, I mean, yeah, you could just throw a Pokeball, but what if they're out of range, or what if you want to weaken them, I mean, Legends Arceus did this weird thing where you could throw your Pokemon. I mean, you had, first of all, you had a surfing Pokemon. You had that Basculegion. So there's probably going to be something like that. Although it's weird because it's like, since we have the teleporting things to get on the roofs, we don't really need a Pokemon like Sneasler to climb stuff. And I don't think we'll need a flying Pokemon, if we have all this stuff. And we saw, like, this weird thing where they jumped off a building and, like, held onto the Rotom phone to go to another building, which I gotta say not only looked janky, but it's also pretty lame. Like, the Rotom phone being our way to get across rooftops. I don't know, that's so lame. Let us use a Pokemon, I really wish they let us use our Pokemon besides battling. Like, one thing that I've really liked about Pal World, now that I've actually played it, is how you can use your pals in so many different ways outside of battling. Speaking of Power World, there is something in Power World where if you aim a Pal Spear at a Pal, you would see your chances of catching it. That seems to be in this game, too, if you look really closely. It looks like there's a little meter next to the Pokemon and shows how likely you are to catch it. And I'm like, wow, they actually took something from Power World. Because, Power World was actually felt like a game that was made this decade. And it's funny, too, if I can go on a little bit of a tangent, Power World is nothing like Pokemon. Like, people were freaking out for no reason. Now that I've actually played it, I just realized that anyone who says that Power World is just a Pokemon clone have not played the game, and they don't know what they're talking about. In fact, that's the reason I like Power World, because it's so different from Pokemon. Anyway, I'm not reviewing Power World. I'm talking about Legends Z-A. Yeah, it all looks very, very interesting. I'm very interested in everything here. I hope we get new Megas. Everyone wants that Mega Flygon that we were denied. But I don't think we saw any of the Flygon line in this trailer. I can't remember. And if that's true, if it's not in there, that's a shame. I don't want us to be denied a Mega Flygon again. And I wonder if Megas will stay around now. The funny thing is, the Megas were taken out because they were too overpowered. But with power creep, especially in Gen 9 being so huge, you could probably put Megas in there and they probably wouldn't be broken anymore. Oh, and also, we see the Mega Bracelet and stuff. Mega Stones aren't a thing anymore, because held items probably aren't a thing, because they weren't in Legends Arceus, neither are abilities, which would probably mean that Pokemon like Mega Kangaskhan aren't going to be overpowered. Neither will Mega Mawile. They just get a power boost to all their moves. Which, you know what? That's a good way to do it, because that's the thing that I always kind of hated about Megas. Like, Megas are a great idea, but were terribly executed in a lot of ways, because they just broke the game. At least certain ones did, but mostly because of their abilities. Like, when you think of the most broken Megas, it was usually because of their abilities. Whether it was Kangaskhan with its Parental Bond, whether it was Mega Mawile's huge power, whether it was Gardevoir's Pixelate, it was basically the abilities. So you take those away and just give them power boost for a limited amount of time. That works, Going forward, maybe they could just do something like that. But yeah, I think I've covered all the major things. Like I said, I could go on for hours. It's just amazing. I can't believe I'm actually this excited for a Pokemon game after Scarlet and Violet and Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Like, the Legends series is really carrying this franchise, I gotta say. And it's like the only games I'm actually interested in, because Legends Arceus had its flaws, but it was way more fun than any other Pokemon game I have played in a very long time, and it looks like this will continue that. But let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you next time.